City Hall of Monday, September 18th of 2023 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same, motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of September 5th of 2023. We need to set the date for large item pickup for the week of October 2nd, with appliance pickup on October 5th. We need to set the date for trick and treat for October 31st from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And we need to approve the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. Motion, please.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any item or issue that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to number 5, unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go directly to 6, new business. A, South 15th Street Everybody Plays Park and Inclusive Playground Project. Project update and review of pay estimate number 8 and change orders number 5 and 6. Mr. Flory, City Administrator, welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll run through these items here in the packet with you. The blue sheets are the items that are relative to this particular item. As Mayor indicated, this is pay estimate number 8 to Dean Snyder Construction for the Everybody Plays Inclusive Park and Playground Project on South 15th Street. Just in the way of a reminder, the original contract amount for this project between the city and Dean Snyder was $1,997,500. We've had $34,571.27 in change orders. If you recall, you previously approved, I think it was back in May, change order number 1, which is the most substantive of all of those change orders, which was when we added the zip line feature to the project, and that entailed also groundwork that needed to be done, additional concrete work that needed to be done, and also that poured in place material, additional items related to that. So of that $34,571, that represents the majority of it in that that change order number 1. So contract completed to date, just a little over $1,054,469. If we keep working the way down a little bit further, so for the amount for this current billing for pay estimate number 8 is $440,370. So we, of course, have a 5% retainage associated with this project. So we pull that out. That's $22,018. Leaves a net amount to the contractor for pay estimate number 8 due of $418,351.50. So remaining contract yet to be performed is, again, just a little over $1 million yet to perform on the project. So continue to flip through the blue sheets there, the items again relative to this pay estimate, so the work that were completed. There's, of course, general conditions are subject to this pay estimate. Concrete, as you'll know, concrete work included here, masonry, steel material, steel labor, drywall, and metal work there. $40,000 for electrical. Big item was site work being done, and then $48,000 for fencing material that is currently stored and anticipated to be placed next week. So that's probably it on the pay estimate number 8. The purple sheets in your packet are change orders number 5, and then the tan sheet is change order number 6. Change order number 5 is to add a backflow preventer. This was in review with our water department, had recommended that this was not included in the original plans, but the water department reviewed that and requested that we add that backflow preventer, that valve there. We have that on the splash pad down at City Beach, and they would like us to add that. So that is $7,543 based on their recommendation, and also our consultation with the project architect believes that would be appropriate to add that as well. Change order number 6, this is for a change in the paint material. Talking to the contractor, who is Jennings Painting on this project, they recommended that we consider an upgraded paint material for this one. This is on the roof deck, and then the structure itself, the pylons and things there would be painted. So basically this new Acrylon 100 is more of a polyurethane blended paint, and Jennings thinks it'll hold up better than the more latex-based paint that was specified there, so that would be an increase of $3,552 to the project. Again, in terms of the projects, I think the change orders takes us up to less than 2% on the entire project. I think the gold standard's about 10 to 15%. So we're a long way away from having any serious issues on change orders. These are additional items that have been added that add value, and sometimes you don't envision some of those things until you're in the field. So again, like in the working with the contractor, Jennings on this one, took us aside at construction progress meeting, said, hey, I think you ought to switch paint. So we talked about it, went through it, made sense. So that's about all I have in terms of any review on the pay estimate or any of those change orders. In terms of the project update, let me just kind of go through that a little bit. I put those in your packet from the architect, who's Bergel & Cram for this project. So in terms of the construction, what's going on, the sidewalks north of the parking lot are done. The splash pad, if you've been out there, I go out there quite a bit and just kind of wander around through there. You'll see that the splash pad work is the concrete work has all been completed now. Painters, again, are up, again, as I mentioned, working on the restroom and the shelter. Roofers are done. The poured-in-place fall material, that has now been completed. The light poles, parking lot light poles, those are all up as well. Navratil, if you've checked your email today, I was up there watching them dump a bunch of black dirt. Mark didn't think it was too interesting, but I kind of enjoyed watching them dump all that black dirt. So they were up there today spreading the black dirt around, and zip line is supposed to begin probably next week as well. So fence material is in, as I mentioned. That installation is supposed to start the week of September 18th, so this week as well. The electrical, we're still waiting for some of the electrical panel components to arrive, in particular the breakers are behind schedule, so we're waiting for that. We anticipate that those will be here first part of October. And that's probably all on the update. I would point out too, with the landscaping, talking to Seth this afternoon, he gave me a little more update as of late this afternoon. The landscaping and seeding, I think, will start next week, and again, the fencing should start later on towards the end of the week. So that's pretty much real-time estimate as to where things are at, and looks good for everything to be completed here sometime in early October. Again, the big delay for the electrical box, you can't do too much without that stuff. So that's all I've got.
Scott, on pay estimate, number 8 on the blue sheets, front page.
Yep.
Left column, second item down, we've got approved changes, $34,571. That's included in the total current amount due down below at $418,351.50, correct?
That's correct, yes.
All right. All right, and then, so the other two change orders, number 5 and number 6, are both on this tan sheet, front and back?
They are.
Okay.
Yep. 5 is the purple and 6
Right.
is the tan.
Right, okay, thank you. Any other questions, Scott, council? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 8 with regard to the South 15th Street Everybody Plays Park and Inclusive Playground project in the amount of $418,351.50, and change orders number 5 and 6. Number 5 in the amount of $7,543, and number 6 in the amount of $3,552. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mike, that we approve payers number 8 and change orders number 5 and 6 with regard to the South 15th Street Everybody Place Park. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. By the way, audience, Mr. Hughie is not with us, as you can see tonight. He is, we thought perhaps on here, but he doesn't seem to be there as yet, so sorry I didn't mention that to begin with. All right, 6B, Lamerson Subdivision Preliminary Plat, Review and Recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission. Mike Ritter, Building Official. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. In your packet in the white sheets, there's a preliminary plat that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission at our last meeting for a 10-lot subdivision on North 32nd Street, just north of Country Landscapes. The property will have 10 lots, and there'll be a detention pond included with it. Private drive will be included in the project. City water and sewer, we're going to be extended out there, and the city will have access to it. It'll still remain a private drive. Kind of a much-needed size lot for a lot of people in town.
Council, any questions for Mr. Ritter?
I just mentioned, just in way of some additional background, this is the property that's currently owned by Saragordo County. If you recall, when we did the North 32nd Street extension, this is that 5-acre parcel. So they're looking at subdividing this into 10 buildable lots there that would essentially be storage unit type products. As Mike mentioned, there'll be a 24-foot wide, I think hot mix asphalt driveway extended in. Water and sewer service laterals will be provided to each one of the building lots, 6-inch sewer service and a 1-inch water service. There's 8-inch diameter water main and 8-inch sanitary sewer. Those will be dedicated to the city, so we'll have access dedicated through the platting documents to maintain and have ownership of the sanitary sewer main and the water main itself. And again, as Mike mentioned, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this and has recommended approval of the preliminary plat. There is a zoning change that would be part of this. So you have, it currently is zoned as heavy industrial. So in the pyramiding of zoning, that would be the most intrusive, if you will, zoning category. So this would also entail, when the final platting comes before P&Z as well as the council, a change in the zoning from heavy industrial to light industrial to be consistent with what the property is used for. So I think Mike mentioned that neighbors are required to sign off on these matters when there's a zoning change. So we have all those papers from the adjoining property owners as well.
And this is a private drive, Mike, correct? Any other comments, questions, council, for Mr. Ritter? Not appearing, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2333, a resolution approving preliminary plat for Lamerson subdivision. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2333. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, and Resolution 2333 is duly adopted. 6C, City Hall Administrative Remodel and Security Renovation Project Review. Mr. Flory, welcome again, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The purple sheets in your packet address this item, Council. The first purple sheet is a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the plan specifications, estimate cost, form of contract, ordering bids, setting a bid date, receiving bids for the bid letting on the City Hall Remodel Security Renovation Project. The next sheet after that is a copy of the notice of public hearing. If you recall, a few years ago, this process changed, so we're required only at this point to publish the notice of hearing. We don't have to publish the notice of letting in the newspaper any longer. So this is the notice that's subject to the 4-day, 20-day time frame. The one that follows this is the advertisement for the bids itself. That one we do not any longer publish in the newspaper. That one gets published in these various plan rooms as well as our website. So just in the way of some background information, we talked about this for the last couple of council meetings, so this will be the third or fourth meeting that we've kind of had something on the agenda on this one. So at your August 7th meeting, we had reviewed the preliminary plans and specs with the architect for the administrative side of City Hall security upgrade and remodeling project. So as I mentioned, the resolution in your packet sets the date for the bid letting on this project for October 10th at 2 p.m., as well as establishing the date for the public hearing as October 16th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. And that's the same evening that we'll consider an award of construction contract to the lowest responsible bidder for the work. As we discussed last time and the council had approved, a lease agreement with Pritchard's Innovation Center to relocate our administrative offices from City Hall here to the Innovation Center later this month. We'll have a partial relocation. So we covered this at the last meeting, but it'll be about half of us go out here towards the end of the month and the other half about the middle of October. So that was approved at the previous council meeting. So we've got that agreement executed now with Pritchard. We did actually also today have a pre-bid meeting with the architect, and we had a couple of interested contractors here who'll be plan holders for the project show up, and so we went through a number of issues with them that we saw regarding the project, not the least of which is a reference in the memo, the November 7th date, so whether or not the contractor who's successful would begin by that date, perhaps not. That is an important date to keep the parking lot unobstructed and access to the building. Of course, there's a general city election and school board election here on November 7th. And the other, I think, big date that we discussed with them was the Color the Wind Festival in February that draws a lot of parking and people downtown. So the parking lot, if we could not have it obstructed with too many construction vehicles, that would be great. Just again, we've discussed this several times as well. The overall scope of the project, again, of course, involves significant ADA improvements, security improvements, as well as HVAC improvements to the building. A little more tempered in here tonight. I think last time we talked about this, it was about 85 in here and 90 in the hallway and about 60 over on the administrative side of the building. So, but it's an old building and that's how it goes, I guess. So I don't have anything further in terms of any background on that resolution to set the date for the hearing and letting, unless anybody has any questions.
Council, any questions for Scott?
Just a comment, Mayor. I think, Scott, I appreciate the explanation you provide for these things, and I just think this is a really important project for us because I think the safety and security of our staff, these improvements will really add to their safety and security. And as you mentioned, the ADA improvements. So I just think, again, a really important project for us, and thank you for your work on it, and look forward to seeing those improvements. So,
Thank you, appreciate that.
Any further comments, questions? None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2334, a resolution setting the date for a public hearing and bid letting, which shall be October 16th, 2023 at 6 p.m. right here in the council chambers.
so offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2334. Is there any further discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. And Resolution 2334 is duly adopted. 6D, Surf District Destination Iowa Creative Placemaking Streetscape, Public Art, and Lake Connection Project. Intro, Mr. Flory, who along with Jeff Nicholas will be presenting here shortly. He is president of the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum. Following that will be a review and project presentation by Mr. Pat Dunn, representing our planning and design group from RDG in Des Moines. And then there'll be discussion and questions by all members of the city council, and I will lead that discussion. Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor. And we're also from our steering committee, Andy Tizer is part of that, and she's also going to address the council on behalf of the steering committee this evening as well. So thank you again for that background, Mayor. As you know, we approved a contract with RDG, Planning and Design, for this project back in January, shortly after we received the official award from the Department of Economic Development for the Destination Iowa Creative Placemaking Surf District project. So again, we approved that contract with RDG in January, and we've been working on this ever since at that time, and have had lots and lots of meetings. So I appreciate all of Pat's assistance, and thank you for being here tonight, Pat. It's I know personally a difficult time for you and your family, so thank you for making the trip up here. We appreciate it immensely. We're really excited about what we're going to show you here tonight through the Surf District. We've got a committee that's, of course, Bennett and Marker and Nelson are all part of that committee. About 16, 18 people, many of whom are here this evening. So we're really happy about where things are at today. The goal would be to have this project bid over the winter, so probably a January, February timeframe on bidding this project, and then construction probably again April timeframe on this. So this again involves, we covered this pretty extensively at the last meeting with the Music Enrichment Center project. So this is the second component of that project. The streetscape component involves, of course, the public art component, the gateway features, the connection between the surf ballroom and Clear Lake itself. So a lot of thoughtful input by many members of the community has gone into this. So I think you'll be pretty excited about overall the scope. When we put our application together for the Destination Iowa project, this was about a $4.5 million component of that overall project. So what the estimating you'll see here tonight is right on par with where we're at in terms of what our preliminary estimate was for as far as the budgeting goes here. Really excited again about the public art component of it. I think that's an area here in the Surf District that we can really capitalize on. I think I said this at the last meeting, so I apologize. I can't remember if I did or not. But one of the things, I've been here 23 years, and one of the things that I regret in that length of time that we didn't have the opportunity, I guess, to focus more on this area of our community. Again, it contains one of only 27 National Historic Landmarks in the state of Iowa, the Surf Ballroom. And I think I had shared with some of you previously that oftentimes, until there's an outside infusion of revenue dollars, grant sources, that these things are more difficult to get off the ground. And with our approval by the Department of Economic Development of the $4.5 million, again, these are a 60-40 cost share here, with the $4.5 million of grant money coming in for these pieces of the project, made them far more feasible for us to do. I just think you'll see some things here tonight that we've seen in many other communities, and I think we've got more cause to celebrate the Surf District than some of these other communities have for whatever it is that they have. We've seen the arch you'll see here momentarily in some other communities. I think we have really put together a gateway arch feature that is absolutely stunning and really does justice to our community. And as we continue to, as you'll see, keep the music alive in this area, we're adding all of these art components and features that will ensure that subsequent generations, again, continue to value and appreciate the heritage of what we have and what the Surf Ballroom has to offer. So I don't have anything further. If Jeff and Andy can follow me, and then we'll turn it over to Pat. So.
Thanks, Scott. Welcome, Jeff.
I just realized that I wore this same shirt at the last council meeting, but I don't have very many shirts, so it's my lucky shirt. Yeah. So I don't want to waste your time. You know how I feel. I'll just say that we continue at the Surf Ballroom, stand ready, willing, and excited to continue on with this project. This is just one component. There are so many more things that are kind of balls in the air right now. So you know how we all feel, but I'd like to ask Andy to come up and say a few words, and I can't wait to see this all again.
Thanks, Jeff. I like your shirt. Welcome, Andy.
My name's Andy Tizer, and I live on 12th Avenue South. My husband, daughter, and I moved back to Clear Lake the summer of '21. I'm a 91 graduate of Clear Lake, and my husband graduated from Mason City. We both graduated from UNI and spent the better part of the last 20 years between the Des Moines and Minneapolis metro areas. North Iowa especially, Clear Lake has always been important to us as we have spent many summer weekends and holidays over the years. In short, North Iowa has always been home, and during the pandemic, we saw an opportunity to move back to the community that we love. Last summer, when the Surf District project and Destination Iowa grant became a possibility, I asked how I could be involved and contribute. My college degree is in interior design, and I've been in the hospitality and construction industries since graduating. The redevelopment of the Surf District area is allowing me an opportunity to collaborate with people I've known and respected for many years. I feel honored to be involved and contribute insights from my professional experience to this amazing project. The team is thinking creatively and exploring what's possible while honoring our strong community history. I've been attending meetings with RDG, listening and learning over the past year. The community involvement and passion for this project is unbelievably positive, and it really is an investment in the future of Clear Lake. The team at Atura has done an amazing job of reimagining the past with the Art Deco-inspired new Music Enrichment Center experience. This vision is all defined by the Destination Iowa grant, but as someone that has known what a jewel the town of Clear Lake is, I also feel that this will bring great value to the community and all of its residents. Our community isn't afraid to invest in the future and keep moving forward. The Clear Lake Wellness Center is a prime example of how we can come together and get great things done. The Surf District project will be a shining star of Clear Lake, drawing families, businesses, and value to this community. One of our #1 reasons for moving back to North Iowa and Clear Lake is our friends and family and the quality of life. Investing and improving the Surf District will give our visitors something to experience and remember and want to come back to. But for those of us lucky enough to call Clear Lake home, the revitalization will be something everyone can enjoy and be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Pat.
Mayor, members of the council, thanks for the opportunity to share tonight. Before we go through some slides and go through some fly-throughs, it's probably worth mentioning that there's probably enough people in this room to correct me if I say anything wrong, because between the planning committee, Jason Petersburg from Veenstra and Kim, there's a lot of folks who have been involved in this process. So I feel like I am well supported, and everybody please feel free to correct me if I say anything out of line. So yeah, we have a strong team. We've had a strong process. One thing I was looking at, just as a bit of a recall of why we're doing this, beyond what was mentioned earlier, there was 2 things mentioned in our agreement, in our scope of work, and in the Destination Iowa grant. And those 2 things hinged on mobility and placemaking. If you recall, mobility is more of the functional kinds of things, and why we're doing this, the safety and usability, the crosswalks, the parking improvements. So that's kind of a baseline, but to really make this place a destination, a national destination, it's about the placemaking, it's about those gateways, it's about those connections to the lake, and it's about the public investment that will spawn private investment in this area as well. So with that, I'd love to share a little bit of our process and happy to answer any questions. So our agenda tonight is to walk through the overall schematic design. So we are at a point in the process where we've We've completed what's maybe called preliminary design or conceptual and schematic design, so we're at that point. With your authorization and with your guidance, we'd love to move into the final design, which would be the design development and the construction documents. So we'll talk about that a little bit with the schedule. We'll talk about roadway and parking. We'll talk about signage, sculptures, and streetscape, lighting and sound, connection to the lake and the Fox property, and simply mention some of the connections with the Oaks Hotel and the music enrichment and whether it's immersive or interactive or interpretive. I've heard all three of those, so one of those words. And then last but not least, we'll talk about costs. And by the way, thanks, Jennifer, for organizing, getting this all working. Our schedule is tonight here at City Council. As Scott mentioned, the rest of this year and into January for design development and bidding documents, with bidding hopefully happening right at that point in time with positive bids and construction start in April or May. Probably the easiest way to give you all just a general sense of this is to allow you to view a fly-through. So we've got about a 3 or 3.5 minute fly-through. I'll let it play through without stopping it. Afterwards, we'll kind of show each part and piece in a little bit more detail. So go ahead, Jennifer. First of all, the fly-through starts over on the west end by the Three Stars Plaza, and you see some characterizations of a new hotel and the MEIC building. We started this fly-through zooming in and focusing on this potential likely Three Stars sculpture that we'll talk about in a little bit that is proposed to be placed at the corner of the MEIC. The intent would be for this to be very interactive, very, very much something Instagram moment as a part of the existing Three Stars Plaza itself. We've purposely shown these two facilities, these two new buildings in a just fairly generic white, just representing that that's another design team that is not a part of the proposal for tonight. 7th Avenue North, you see some improvements on the southeast side of that, adding some parking, some signage, some landscaping. And then you'll start to see some improvements along Buddy Holly, of course. Here we are at the intersection of 18th, what we've characterized as the North Gateway. We've been very thoughtfully trying to figure out how do we do this with all the railroad crossing arms and all the functional things that are in that area, but we believe we've come to a solution that will work well as a gateway to that area that will be visible even with the functional railroad components in that area. We did look at about 4 or 5 different design options, and this is the one that we believe there was consensus on. We'll talk about that in a little more detail as well. The major changes along Buddy Holly, primarily you'll see that the existing median is being removed, and as a result, in between the existing curbs, we have room to fit diagonal parking on the west side, which increases the quantity of parking significantly along that zone, even with intersection improvements and crosswalks and monuments. So we'll talk about the increase in overall district parking here in a moment as well. You see street trees, you see lighting components, banners, all of that along Buddy Holly. And then at the intersection of North Shore, there's some short-term and long-term plans for improvements here. You're seeing the short-term improvements to the right-of-way itself. There's potential longer-term improvements as well. And then perhaps one of the most important places is right here at this new crosswalk across North Shore and the connection to the lake that would be a boardwalk along the side of the Fox House with a new dock extending out as far as possible into the lake. And as you spin around, you'll start to see that not only do we have a north gateway, but we have a lake gateway to the surf that will be wonderful both day and night. So with that general overview of the district, we'd like to switch back to the presentation and talk a little bit more about each one of those pieces and parts of the project. Next slide, please. Keep going. Okay, so in general terms, I won't get into the real nitty-gritty of the roadway and parking, but currently there's approximately 215 existing stalls in all of the area inside that dashed red line. With the proposed improvements, we are increasing that quantity of parking. Not only is it being increased, but we believe it's safer and more convenient based on, as mentioned, the west side of Buddy Holly having diagonal parking that is, during events, that'll be safer and more convenient for folks to attend events at the surf itself. Much of, one other quick item, I mentioned the removal of the median it being the significant change along Buddy Holly on North Shore. No major changes to the roadway configuration. However, we are proposing some, I'll call it cleaning up some of the parking areas along the north side, and also landscape and signage improvements and lighting improvements along that corridor. So really no major changes. There will be a pedestrian crossing at the surf. That will be a change. That would be likely some kind of a pedestrian actuated crossing there that would stop traffic as people need to cross that at that point. And please, Jason, other folks in the room, chime in if there's some need to clarify things. Next slide. What you're seeing on the screen right now is a brand new logo for the district itself. This is something it's gone through several iterations and we believe is respectful of what's already in place at the surf itself, some of the other district identity brands and logos that have come in and that exist. So you're seeing on the top the primary logo and on the bottom different ways of articulating and using that same brand and logo depending on the vehicle, depending on the way that it would need to be used in different circumstances. And so with that logo, we've then, yes, please go ahead, and so that gets reflected then. For example, here in the North Gateway, you're seeing that intersection of Highway 18 on the bottom right. You see the railroad itself crossing, and then you see a new archway. This archway would span the entire roadway, the existing roadway. It would have opportunities on the west side for pedestrians to stop and come up to that west monument of the gateway. It would have some picture opportunities. You can keep flipping through a few slides, Jennifer. Here's a view of that as you were looking to the south at nighttime. That will be illuminated and very visible as you pass by on Highway 18. In the daytime, as mentioned, there'd be opportunities for pedestrians to engage with this for those Instagram moments.
I was going to mention, Pat, you might, or maybe you're going to talk about, I'm probably jumping the gun here, but the brick, or do you want to talk about?
Thank you,
Yeah.
yes. So you might wonder, okay, what are the colors? How do we come up with, so the masonry piers and the brick, that's reminiscent of the surf itself. So that cream colored brick would be used to match the surf itself. There's also some we'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit, some of the intricacies of in those monuments, some of those waveforms and some of the materials will be reminiscent of some of the things and shapes and forms within the surf. We'll talk about the lake connection in a little bit, but we did want to give just a little bit of a teaser because of the connection to the North Gateway. So we're talking about a secondary gateway or a lake connection gateway, a similar kind of circle illuminated at night with the logo that would be right at the lake shore as a beacon for those on the lake year-round that could see this as a connection point. Continuing to some of what we're calling tertiary or more pedestrian scale monuments and signage. Here's different sizes of some of the monuments, some of which would have some interpretive elements on them. They'd be illuminated day and night. There'd be a variety of them that would have, ranging from the Fox House to the Buddy Holly glasses. All of these are not finalized, but they're representative of the types of things that will be finalized during the next few months. Those interpretive panels, here's some mock-ups of those on the right on some of those pedestrian monuments. We also have started down the path of designing new banners specifically for the Surf District itself. So ranging from the Big Bopper and Ritchie to the Fox House and the Music Enrichment and Interpretive Center. You see some of those different components shown in scale from the gateways to the interpretive markers and monuments to how the banners would work on some existing and new poles throughout the district. Now, there's been a lot of emphasis, and others can certainly speak to this as well. The Three Stars sculpture early in the process became something that was very important to folks, and so we're showing a representation of that sculpture at this point. The final design of that has not been completed. The next few slides illustrate work and a team of folks that did a foundry visit recently, just a few weeks ago, at a potential location where that sculpture could be made and looked at examples. And again, I'd invite those who are on the tour to chime in if this is appropriate time, because I wasn't able to join this tour, but
I just chime in, Jeff had the same shirt on that trip as well. He's going to be checking.
Just the level of detail that can be created with these bronze sculptures and the emotion and the meaning that they can hold and that they can have to those who visit is just phenomenal.
That was probably the place that really opened my eyes even more to this particular project and how that was all done. Where we got north of Albertville, Minnesota, somewhere out in the middle of the country, and they have all these are real artisans that are working there. Very, very serious, very detailed. And then we saw the finished product, as you can see pictured there later on.
I should my seat, but I just want to point out the emotion.
Yeah, right.
And this is me with my blue shirt on. But anyway, the emotion that this can emit. And see the seams, the threading, the stitching on the shoulders, and I mean this is just amazing. I mean it's just amazing what they can do with these, and it just draws so much emotion out. And they're really, as the mayor said, absolutely incredible.
Well, I think, as we mentioned, this is one of it's not inexpensive, one of the marquee elements of this overall surf district Destination Iowa project. And I cannot think of a more deserving opportunity to fete these gentlemen here in our community, memorialize them in this context is so deserving, in my opinion. It's not just one of the performers, it's all three. And as Jeff had mentioned, this is a recognition of the overall winter dance party, and I thought that was pretty profound when you had made that statement. But again, without state support, one of these kinds of statues are probably just beyond our abilities to do that. But with the state's financial support, these are within our financial grasp to be able to do it, and I just can't think of a more appropriate thing to do at that location.
Right. And I do want to mention again that what you're seeing in the images that we've depicted so far are placeholders, they're representations, but there's a level of respect. There's a level of detail that needs to happen with these, with many people involved, so that we do it right. We got to do this right. So.
Yeah, that's underscore right. That's great.
And I just watched one of my idols, Barry Sanders, was immortalized in a statue here this weekend in front of Ford Field. But I did not realize, again, in that case, Barry was not tall, but that statue is 8 foot tall. And when we originally started looking at these, they were 9 foot tall sculptures, and I thought, what on earth, 9 foot tall? But I quickly learned there's a whole lot more that goes into the art and creativity on these sculptures than just mimicking what the size of the artist was. And so there is a lot that goes into that, whether it's on a pedestal, how big's the pedestal, not on a pedestal, whether it's ground level for better interaction, black granite or not black granite, just a million different things that come into the evaluation of what that ultimately will look like in terms of that sculpture.
I asked, what's the harsh winter going to do? And obviously, I should have thought of that. They're building it clear up in the middle of Minnesota. They should think about it. I would think they did. But I grilled them on that, and they, point after point, they came up with the answer. This will stop this. This will stop that. That was very impressive. It's sort of a simple, stupid thing, but it's very important when you're looking at long term.
In addition to the detail and the emotion that those sculptures have the opportunity to bring out to visitors, we think that it's going to be a very nice balance between kind of the traditional bronze statue and what we're trying to achieve in the MEIIC now, with some very high-tech, forward-thinking, cutting-edge displays and interaction, musical interaction with people. And then we have the back to the traditional served ballroom. We think it'll be a nice balance on the whole campus.
I just mentioned that's just one boundary. There are many, and the one that was mentioned with Barry Sanders was in Illinois. So I mean, there may be a number of
Right.
sculptors that we talked to.
Yep,
So.
nothing's finalized there yet. Streetscapes can be generic. Our goal is to make this anything but generic. That the music, sound, the connection to the surf, all of that will have a place within this streetscape, yet to be finalized. But these are just some images over the next couple slides that illustrate some examples of things that we're exploring at this point in time to really allow this streetscape to be something unique and reflective of the surf itself, some of which can be subtle, some can be literal. And so we'll work through those details here in the next few months. Similarly with lighting and sound, the concept is along North Shore, to continue with the similar type of lighting fixture and poles with new banners along there. On the left, you see that the fixtures might have the ability to have a little bit more of a glow or a component to them that might allow them to be differentiated slightly from the other fixtures around town, yet to be finalized. But in general, North Shore would be a similar kind of fixture to the rest of North Shore. Buddy Holly is proposed to be a new fixture that would have its grounding in an Art Deco kind of a globe, something that would be distinctive along North Shore, and again, would have some relationship to the surf itself. Beyond those functional light fixtures, then the fun comes in where we can do some things not unlike what have been done at Three Stars with neon, with colored lighting in different locations, just ways to bring the streetscape alive. You're just seeing some examples of that. And then, of course, with in the next slide shows the way that the Three Stars has the ability for interactive music to be played. We imagine a similar kind of component at key locations throughout the district along the streetscape. The last major piece we wanted to talk about tonight is the connection to the lake. Maybe one of the biggest opportunities. So right at the entrance to the surf is the proposed new crosswalk that would come across and connect to the Fox House. The next slide then starts to show some existing conditions there from a drone over the lake, looking at the Fox House on the right. And then the concept is to use a boardwalk system, primarily because there's a lot of great vegetation on the Fox property itself, to limit the impact on that property. We can install a boardwalk system that can also get us up and provide handicapped accessibility, wheelchair accessibility to the front door of the Fox. So here you see conceptually how that boardwalk would stretch along the open space on the Fox property itself, and then move its way towards the new dock. And the next slides then illustrate that same kind of improvement at the lakeshore, which the lakeshore itself could have a small plaza, a little gathering area, if you will. And then, of course, the dock, like all docks around here would come out in the wintertime. But during the winter, there could still be access to the lake through that corridor. And here you see it day and night as a gateway from the lake to the surf. I think we're just about finished with I guess we have one slide. The next slide simply shows from a bird's eye vantage point the hotel and the MEIC, that the roadway project, the streetscape project is standing ready, and it sure seems like things are coming together well, timing-wise, for all of this to work, all the design teams to work closely together. So we've already started that process, and we're excited to continue that process of all the whole gamut from the whole site that has to surround all these buildings. So, last piece would be the cost opinion. As Scott mentioned, we're just a little bit below the 4.5, or currently at 4.3 million total projected costs. You see a breakdown there of the major pieces of the project, those representing the 5 chunks of work for this public right-of-way focused improvement project. Happy to entertain any questions.
Council, any questions for Mr. Pat Dunn? Thank you very much, Pat.
Sure.
We'll probably be asking you as we go through this discussion here, but appreciate that very, very much. Okay. I'm going to kick this off, and as I said earlier, then I will call on various councilmen and asking for some input, please. For me, this is a very, very exciting, monumental time, monumental evening when we really look at this very seriously and looking forward to what this next step will be. This is probably, in my time in this town, one of the largest, most impactful movement that we've ever made in one particular area. A while back, I used to say that we were going to connect the retail section with the entertainment section of the community, entertainment being, at that time, we called it the surf area. Retail, we were calling Main Street, and we were connecting it with a wonderful street called North Shore Drive, and we did. But I never expected at that point in time that we would involve the repurposing, transformation, whatever large, big, small word you want to use to what you just talked about here with regard to the surf district. But this town has a history. If you go back in the history books, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, sir, but if you go back into the history books, you will find out that there was a purpose that each of the leaders of this community went through from the time it was incorporated on May 26, 1871. That was after Dickerson and Hewitt marched across the prairie in their Conestoga and dumped stuff off here and decided to live here. But each time, those men and women, all throughout these steps up to today, we discussed what is the vision for this town and what value does that vision have to this town and the citizens in this town first, and the tourists that may possibly come as a result of this vision put into value for our community. There was, from those earlier leaders, 3 villages. It was called Clear Lake, down by the outlet. They had a little war there with the Native Americans. The next one was right where we are now, the city of Clear Lake. And the third one was called Livonia, out where the cemetery is. Each case, they had to decide, well, what's the value of having that there? How is this going to help our town? And eventually it all came down to right where we're sitting today. The city of Clear Lake is here because it has the most value to this community here. Livonia was going to be the county seat, the courthouse. There is a town to the east of us that is now the court seat of our community. I think we're just as well off right here with our wonderful mother lake, and we used that as another vision later on down the line. We use words around here such as, and we're going to pick up an award as a result of that on Thursday evening in Cedar Rapids, called collaboration. That was with the Athletic and Wellness Center, which in my opinion has been a big hit. Over 2,000 contracts there now, more. Some 900 individuals. Figured out, I believe that's about 38% of our 7,600 people that live in this town that are using that. We also use it right here. I call it collaboration, the 3 C's. Cooperation, and you've got to have communication at the end. Those 3. And that's what these early settlers did here. And that's what we're doing now. You know, the most recent collaboration was when Dr. Downing came here, Kirk Kraft was then the mayor, Dr. Downing out of Iowa State University, to determine what we needed to do to make the lake a cleaner, clearer lake, because it was really gummed up, shall we say, for quite a while. Over $25 million since the middle of the 90s up to now, the federal, state, local, and private monies have been put into that lake to make sure it stays that way. Now, we may not like all the weeds in it, but we have ways to get them out. If you want to get your boat out, that's possible. But that lake is a huge draw, which makes something like this also a huge draw that we're discussing tonight. Another vision that added value, I can't remember the exact day, but Scott and I and a few other people and the 501c3 folks were standing down in the parking lot of the Surf, looking across the street at what was then the Hilltop Motel. And my friend back there with, don't ever take that shirt off, we got to keep that on forever, was standing there and said, you know what, Mayor? Look what we can put over there. You know, I mean, this was, good things happened in a short span of time. I always believe that. Look what we can do right here. Look what we can do right here. I don't know how long ago that was, but it's brought us to this point in time. And I thought, wow, those were powerful words in a short amount of time. Now look at what's happened down there all since then. We are moving. We are moving along in a positive, progressive manner. Positive, progressive manner. And what value will that have to this city when it's all said and done? And most importantly, the citizens. And I can assure you then tourists will come. You don't have to count on that. That will happen. As we did that, we thought of Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox, who owns the 1950s house across the street from the door of the Surf. At that time, he had built correct me if I'm wrong, the correct Surf over there where the Blue Horizon Hotel was, and now there are lakeside apartments or something there. Right on the lake. That whole area was totally different than what it is now. Keep that in mind, totally different than what it is now. And it burned. It burned down. And I believe he built it again, right there. And that burned. And then he went across the street and built the present Surf there. Each time, he had to have a vision. And he had to be thinking, if I do this, what value will there be for this community? 3 times. 3 times. And what are we doing this evening when Pat took us through all that? If you look at that music enhancement, here we go, Pat, immersive center, I love all of them, it's designed on the outside to look like that Art Deco time. The inside is reflecting what that was and is, the music part. Almost 100, I think I'm right, Lori, 100 people from all ages are taking lessons in that little Quonset hut we have now, WW2, over there on Buddy Holly Place, but who could be in this new building as we saw going through in a 3D at one time we saw, and I think that's all through Atura, but working with RDG to get that accomplished. We are serving those people the value again. You know, amazing how things do happen, but what is the good? All right, so what did we have then? We had big band music, I think was the big thing. Jimmy Dorsey, Tommy Dorsey, you know, all those dudes came there. And then we all know, February 3rd, 1959, the snowstorm. You know, that was my music, my time. You know, oh, what's going to happen? Everything went downhill the next morning. You know, it was gone. But what happened at that surf? What happened at that surf? Along comes DSC. I got to stop. There were 5 gentlemen ahead of that time that picked it up and held it up in their hand for a long time. The last person just passed away about a month or 2 ago. They held that up there, the surf. Along comes Dean Snyder, Joanne and Dean, who loved to be there. Their box is still there, with their name on it, where they sit in the surf. And Dean's famous statement, which is on the banner, Mindy Alvarez made it up, RDG, which says, if she wanted to fish, I would have bought her a fishing pole. I think I'm right. But she wanted to dance, so I bought her the surf. Bingo. That's huge. What a statement. Short amount of time. Big value to the city. And now look at it. It goes on and on and on, right to the point of where we are tonight. And now, you know, the guy, where was he from? The music lives on. Yeah. Yeah, that dude. All right.
New York.
You know, he's made this, now he's made it into a movie. He even thinks, and what value does that movie have to us now? Where was it on Paramount? Now it's on MTV, I believe. It's being streamed. And look where that's going out. Look what's happened. Look what's happened to that small area that we're talking about right now tonight. This 501c3 team, I can't praise them enough. All local guys. All local guys. Most of them I knew from the time they were in EI to Grasshopper to now. Not all. And look at what they have done. What is their vision? Putting their resources into this day after day after day. Hiring great people. That Lori Leeds is a saint. She has done it and held that place together. But if it wasn't for that 501c3, nothing would be there. That would have been down. There'd be condos in that little area that at one time was an overflow from the lake and was a puddle of water. Positive progressiveness got us to where we are today. I don't care. You can call it transformation, you can call it enhancement, you can call it enhancement, all of that. But why shouldn't it be? Because what is that building right now? That building right now is a national landmark, only 27 in the state of Iowa, and only about 2,300 or less in the entire United States. A national landmark. Not on the historic registry. It was a couple steps above that. Why shouldn't we be honoring that and surrounding that with what Pat talked about here? To enhance that whole area. To make it of greater value to the citizens and the community and hopefully the tourists, and I'm sure they would come to that. This has well been thought out. We got the place-making grant. I think, Scott, there are only two of us, right?
No.
Us and Davenport
Correct.
that got it. In the whole state, placemaking. Oh, there are some other destination grants, but not for placemaking. And that's what I just talked about, placemaking. That's what this is. This is placemaking, and we got that. We got 40% of what we asked for. And that's how we are looking at a great amount of this financing. And it wasn't just that. Flory does his research. He got us down to Des Moines, to the top of the principal building, and talked to key people involved in legislation and financing, so that we aren't in over our heads on this. We know what's going on, and we have studied that and studied that and studied that over a very, very long time. We are well researched with regard to that. You know, I can't say more about RDG and Atura and K&H and our city administration all working together on this. It's a fabulous example of collaboration, cooperation, communication. I mean, nobody's there in fisticuffs. And it's all glued by the wonderful activities of our chamber all the time going on downtown, day and night, 365. It doesn't get any better than that. You know, therefore, you know, I always say, and I've called myself a new name, believe it or not. I know I'm crabby all the time, but a progressive traditionalist. Progressive traditionalist. I don't want to give up on the past. Us gray hairs, we don't want to do that quite yet. But I don't want to resist change if it has, once again, value to this community as a whole. If I can see and perceive and visualize the value to this community, man, I'm going to push it and push it and push it, because this will be good for this community. And that's not the end of this community. We will go on and on with other activities hereafter to make this a better place to live, work, recreate, whatever you want. You know, I can't say enough about Scott Flory. You say, oh, come on, Crab, you're blowing him up way too much. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. He is, you talk about his lions and the statue of whoever you talked about.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah. You know, he himself, without a quarterback here doing this, bringing all these people together, this would have splayed out and been just a little mud puddle down there. And been in a rare state, a very, very rare state. You couple that with the wonderful local people that we have working under it, 501c3s, engineers, planners, designers, all around. You know, what a project this has been to this point. And we will continue on and on. So Scott, thanks. And now, Mr. Mike, what do you have to say? Mark?
I'm not following that.
Dana, I know you've got.
I was thinking the same thing. How do you follow that? Well said. I greatly appreciate, I seen Jeff at the OP after the last meeting, and as he passed by, I said, thank you for your excitement. He gets excited, he loves the community, he loves to see the growth, as we all do, but not everybody shows their excitement the same way. And I just appreciate Jeff for that and all the hard work that he does, and want to thank you all very much for your commitment, because you all have put so much time into it. When it comes to us up here, we haven't put that much time into it. quite frankly, and to see it up there, how could you say no to something like that? It's going to be so exciting, and I live on the north side of town, so I get to pass that intersection almost daily. So I'm super excited, looking forward to it. I love your excitement, Mayor. You know, the history lesson's always good. I moved here in '21 with another family, my mother and father-in-law. There was about 4 or 5 of us in 2001, and now there's about 35 of us in this town. So everybody seems to have followed my parents, my sister last year, so exciting times. Again, thank you all so much for your commitment. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate your comments. Pat, thank you for the presentation. Just amazing to see that, really, again, and to see what's possible there, and thanks for coming up. You know, as someone who has been part of the steering committee from the start of this project, there's a couple of things I'm really amazed at, and that is, one, just the progress we've made in the little time we've had, and then, as the mayor so eloquently put, the collaboration, the teamwork between all the relevant parties. So I think that's just been amazing to watch as part of that committee. And of course, the iconic surf ballroom is at the center of this project. You know, I think the enhanced streetscape that you described here tonight, Pat, will just dramatically improve that area around that icon. And I think, frankly, will dramatically improve the entire neighborhood. So I think it's just going to increase it as a destination site, and that's very exciting. So, you know, ultimately, there's 3 major components to this project: the streetscape, the music enrichment and interpretive center, and the new hotel. And I think by the time we're done, this is going to really transform our community in just a very, very positive way. So I want to thank, again, everybody who's been involved in that process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mike?
Mark's going next.
Mark?
So, as Scott mentioned, I was part of the steering committee. I am not artsy, and I'm certainly not very creative, but to watch the whole process unfold is, it was pretty unbelievable. I drive down Buddy Holly pretty much twice a day and didn't realize how bad it really is, and this puts it to absolute shame. This, along with, I'll just call it the mech. Again, I am not creative. I don't know how people come up with these things, but the surf is a very, very special place. It's had an interesting past, but it's still here. And I think with what we're envisioning is something that will ensure it's in perpetuity for generations to come. So thank you all that have been involved.
Thanks. Mike?
Lot tough act to follow. First of all, for the presentation, I think it ranks right up there with, in Scott's terminology many years ago, with the CDGB project, Holy Cow #2. I think that's an old Harry Carey expression, doing some of the Cub broadcast at some point. I want to walk back a couple of things here. First of all, Scott, I think you not only sold yourself a little short, but also maybe the council and the city government when you said you wished you could have done more for the surf, but I think at least in the 16 years I've been on the council, there's been quite a bit done in that area. I mean, we all recall North Shore Standard rotting away down there, and Pat and his team came to town, and we transformed a dying former gas station into the 3 Stars Plaza, and lots of nice things around there. I also recall that, did you have anything to do with helping create the 501c3 at the surf, which of course has been a very important part of making that operation exist financially. One of the big problems of the former ownership group that the mayor alluded to is trying to balance the concept of hiring professional people to run the thing and still make a profit, and you know, basically it was genius. So kind of like all vets golf course. So I think you got to pat yourself on the back there for helping out there too. Also, what I recall is in one way or another, the city has been able to help with millions of dollars in that area. We've got a couple of new streets down there. Buddy Holly, North Shore Drive. Obviously, Buddy Holly's going to get some improvements, but what's there now is a million times better than what was there before. And the CDGB sewer project kind of took some of the low-lying areas out of there, which used to flood pretty regularly. I've seen photos of people boating right by Redstone there, which was Wickies at the time, on the street, which was kind of an interesting concept. So a couple of new streets, a new park. I think, you know, the nonprofit had also created a scenario whereby the SURF could be a property tax rebate. And even something like that seems to help quite a bit. For a while, we were putting a good share of our hotel, motel, entertainment situation toward helping to prop up that early struggling surf. So that was helpful. I think a few years ago, there were a few bucks came from the city to help with the roof, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, some other things. We bought a dilapidated property where I think the arch is going to land in. So, you know, that was helpful. And then I think there's a pretty neat sign out there across from the OP, not only welcoming to people to Clear Lake, but also letting them know the surf's down there. Because sometimes it's very difficult to make your way around Clear Lake. Not the easiest place to give directions. You know, somebody stops me, I'm usually just about ready to get in my car and say, follow me, because the angled streets, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I do think that we need to recognize your efforts and the current and previous council and their willingness to, you know, do what they could to help down there and help keep it alive and help move us to the point where something like this is even possible. It's I also wrote wow on my drawing a blank on a word here, agenda, excuse me. And that's exactly what we've got here is a big wow project. And as the mayor so eloquently took, it's going to be a transformative project for the city of Clear Lake. And, you know, probably the whole results of it might really not be able to be quantified or figured out till maybe the mayor and I are long gone, but it's going to be something else. So thank you for everyone involved, all your efforts, and we'll see you at the surf.
Thank you. So I assume, council, that the next steps, as Pat said, is to move on to into the section from October 23rd to January 2024. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And we all have head nods to keep moving, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that discussion. I appreciate that greatly. It's neat to reflect upon. All right, we'll move along in the agenda, and I thank you all in the audience for your attention with regard to that. Interim Chief Police, Mike Colby, report. Welcome, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wasn't planning on following such a great presentation, but I did prepare actually a little statement here to read to the council just about a couple things before I get into our monthly report from August that's in your packets there. Officer Kevin Cram was killed in line of duty on Wednesday, September 13th. The loss of Kevin has deeply felt by many at Clear Lake PD. Many Clear Lake PD staff had had a professional and personal relationship with Kevin and his family. I want you all to know that in our grief, our staff has stepped up in many ways to support Officer Cram, Algona PD, the Algona community, and most importantly, Kevin's family. The day after Kevin was killed, Clear Lake officers collected several donations, and I was able to deliver a trunk full of food to Kevin and his family at their house. Spent time with his wife and extended the deepest condolences from many city staff that were able to contribute to that, and almost all of the Clear Lake PD family. Friday, Dispatch Supervisor Aaron Froney met with the line of death duty team in Algona in a supportive role to coordinate dispatch coverage for all of Cassuth County for the visitation and during Kevin's funeral coming up on Wednesday. Last night, Sunday night, Officer Conklin was able to attend a candlelight vigil for Kevin in Algona as part of the area's critical incident response team. Officer Conklin is a certified crisis intervention officer, and she was able to speak with many attendees from the public on staff at Algona PD, Cassuth County, and their dispatch center there, and offers some grief counseling and how to deal with the loss of the community there. CLPD will have officers in attendance to tomorrow night's visitation and then also on Wednesday's funeral where Kevin will be laid to rest in Algona. Last, I just wanted to publicly thank Kevin, his family, for what Kevin has done, his sacrifice, and to let them know officially on record here that their loss will not be forgotten. So I just want to let you know that we've been impacted by that. Our officers have stepped up, as many said, the city staff have as well, to support them and our law enforcement community in North Iowa here. We've had, like I said, a personal relationship with Kevin. His wife used to work for the city, and Kevin as well was a go-getter and had many investigations that we cooperated with back and forth through Clear Lake and Algona. As you know, North Iowa is a tight-knit community, and people that live in Clear Lake and Algona often travel back and forth together and through these communities there, and so those investigations have crossed many boundaries there too. So I just wanted to read that short statement and give you an update on the events of the last week and how it affected the PD there. But moving into the monthly report there, I think it's all in your packets. So I think you'll see that the biggest thing for me is the back sheet, the quick stats there. If you look at that bottom left bar graph there, you can see our July numbers for calls for service. We talked about how busy we were in July with the 4th of July calls for service, the Bash to the Lake. I'm sorry, and then to August with the drop off was there from July to August there too. So it just kind of shows what we talked about a month ago there. We had a lot of community interactions. The page 1 there, the campaigning's already hit Clear Lake. We've had some presidential visits. I think we're up to 3 in the area now that I'm aware of there too, and Lieutenant Rigg was able to be at the VFW for that and as a security and just be there, make sure everything went off without a hitch as well. Officer Gray made page 3 as well. He's in his 4th week, I think, now at the academy, and should graduate in December of the 60-week academy. Therefore, he starts his field training here. And then, I think that's about it. There's a lot of community involvement there on page 2. We were up at Thursdays on Main with the state troopers. We invited them up to bring their seatbelt convincer. There was a Camaro that was crashed. It was on a trailer there that was donated by the family of the 3 juveniles that were killed in that crash as a public reminder for safety to wear your seatbelts, drive safe. And that was all done strategically right before the car show and the car cruise there too. So you can see a lot of involvement there with the community. And I guess I just open it up to any questions about stuff on the report or anything that's not in there you'd have questions about that we could answer for you.
Council, any questions for?
Mayor, yes, I would just want to thank you, Chief, and offer my condolences to the family of Officer Cram. And we all deeply feel that, so thank you.
I'll relay that information.
Anything else? But my opinion, through your interim here, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. We're well informed. Questions are always answered, and thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Public Works, Jeremy Kornberg. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a couple quick updates. I know, as you're aware, we've been in the process of building that shelter out at the ORC. Just a quick update there. We've had the utilities brought to the site in the past few weeks, as well as the rough-ins for the plumbing and the electrical that'll be under the slab. So in the next week or two, we should have the slab poured, and then the structure should be being built right behind that. So it's a little behind where we hoped we'd be, but just with everything going on, it's moving forward. It should be buttoned up, before winter, so that we can do a lot of the finish work that was a part of the project in-house. I know Parks will be doing some of that as well out there. If you haven't been out there for all the youth events that go on out there, the Parks has made some pretty good parking lot improvements to kind of organize that. I think we were out there, they finished it Friday, so Saturday morning soccer and whatnot. It was very, very pleasant to be out there for the parking situation. So getting those rails up and stuff to kind of help organize that. And then the other item I was going to bring up, you had mentioned it earlier, was the large item dates. I just wanted to kind of urge residents to read the rules on that and make sure they kind of look at what we will and will not pick up, and kind of what we kind of determine as piles and stuff, because there are pretty strict things that we are not allowed to take to the landfill. So please read those and follow them. And then also, just as a reminder, all items do need to be out by 7 a.m. on that Monday. We used to have days that we would be in certain areas. We've determined it's pretty easy, or a lot easier for us to kind of work through the town certain ways, just because of we'd end up near schools at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday or whatever it is, so we can hit those areas just mid-afternoon, whenever we can. It just kind of helps us push through and be more efficient in those routes. So just those two items is when it comes to large item. And anything else? Any questions for me?
Any questions? Resurfaced streets look and ride very, very well.
Yeah, they did. They turned out pretty well. We drove them the other day after the little bit of rain we finally got. Not much, but for the most part, I think everything was draining pretty well. No huge items that I think we're going to have to address, but yeah, it turned out real well. So that and South Lakeview as well. So.
South Lakeview obviously is a much easier street to bike on. A couple of the manholes in the middle are still down a little, and that can be kind of a shocker to a bicyclist
Yes.
cruising along.
They are going to be getting raised. I don't know if they've been done. Okay, so they do have rings. I couldn't.
Fair enough. I was just figuring it
Harlan
was,
ordered some rings to raise those lids up. They just
Yeah.
haven't been
Okay.
installed yet. So
just thought I'd ask.
I hadn't been out there in a few days, so I wasn't sure if they'd. All right, thank you.
Well done, thanks. Under Mayor's report, I'm going to call on Stacy first, Chamber. Thanks for being patient.
Problem. Council, Mayor, thank you for having me tonight. Do just want to kind of echo all of the positive comments that have been said tonight regarding the Surf District project. I know that I'm very grateful to be part of the steering committee and just excited to see how transformative this project's going to be for our citizens and then those who choose to come visit us. So very excited about that. Not a lot from the chamber in terms of updates. Harvest Festival is just around the corner. I did provide you with our latest newsletter. As you know, a little over 2 years ago, we stole Ashley Wise from the Globe. And so Ashley is putting her talents to work. We launched this newsletter at the beginning of the year. We put it out quarterly. So I thought I'd provide a copy with you for you. It is digital, so there are links and things. So if you want to check out the online version, we do have it on our website. So unless there are any other questions, that's all I have.
That online version is very good, too. I read several stories on there tonight.
Yep.
Much detail. Thank you. North Iowa Quarter. Chad?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I'll try to be brief also. I know we've gone long, but just want to echo the excitement. I mean, and congratulate this council, the mayor. Mayor, you didn't give yourself enough credit for the leadership you provide in this and being a progressive traditionalist. I think the amount of history and just the legacy that this community has through the surf, the ability to honor that, to carry it forward, like Mark said, for the future generations. Just so proud to even be involved in it and be in the same room for these conversations, because it's really exciting. It's the kind of thing that makes you want to be here, you know, and when people ask me why I'm still in North Iowa 9 years later, like, it's nights like this and what you guys do and aren't afraid to do. So it's really exciting. I just, you look at that and what that's going to mean for us and the iconic surf, and then I think new iconic elements like the statues and things like that. Every single person that comes to this community is going to want to stand with Buddy Holly, the bopper, and balance and get that picture. I mean, there's no way you come here without doing that. And that is just something that you can't put a price tag on. That's just such an inherent value. So just excited for that. Excited to bring family members and friends up here and show them this, even the pictures of it in the coming years. You know, you think about, it was about April or May last year, they put this out, and we had to get the grant in a couple of weeks or months, and we did it.
It was even less than that. We had
Yeah.
90 days, so yeah, it was like June to September.
I think it was May and had to be turned in June.
Yeah, something like that. We
Got
had 90
announced
days.
September,
Yep.
whatever, yeah. So anyway, it's just crazy to think where we are now, a year later, and all of this and how far it's come, just because of that vision and people taking the lead and Scott's quarterbacking. It's just been really phenomenal and couldn't be more proud of the way this community works and gets things done. So just a few things real quick that I think are very cool. Other important neighborhood in the community, the Emerald Edge subdivision, had a good meeting with the team at Sukups and several of the businesses and BAM Development and others that are involved or interested in doing things on that site here 2 weeks ago down at Sukup World Headquarters in Sheffield. And again, really positive. People setting visions, having discussion about what that area can be and should be and what fits well in Clear Lake, and again, not trying to compete with other parts of the community, but what will fit right there. And I think that those conversations were really positive, and again, exciting to see BAM Development get their workforce tax credits and the investment that they want to make in that, and partnerships that they were able to bring and talk about that they could maybe bring to the table for some quality of life or other type of businesses that would be a good fit for what they're doing. So that was exciting, and just the mix of entertainment type options, retail type options, potential like little healthcare type options, you know, just little things that could fit in there really well. And then looking at, you know, what's the next stage and what future growth makes sense there. So again, really awesome opportunity. Again, great people involved in that process. And then just really positive activity continues on the business side and a lot of sectors. I talked at the coffee on Friday, and you can watch that and give some more details, but a lot of good things happening. Again, people are excited about North Iowa, what we have to offer, and I think we got so many opportunities ahead of us, so appreciate you guys.
Any questions for Chad? Thanks, Chad, appreciate that. Just want to mention that a team of us from the city will be attending the Iowa League of Cities annual meeting this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in Cedar Rapids. And on Thursday evening, this town, here we go again with the collaboration, we will receive the award for our Athletics and Wellness Center that we collaborated with the school district. And matter of fact, they came to us and asked if we would partner. We were sitting right about there, and there was one word answer: yes, we will. And as a result of that, we received the award for middle-sized cities, communities in the state of Iowa, ranging from population of 2,000 to 10,000. We were number one with that collaborative effort of the building. And of course, Tura, Dina, Snyder, who else, Scott? And I think that's about it. We're all involved with that. And it's been very successful, as I mentioned earlier this evening, so we are very pleased. There were 3 awards, one for smaller schools up to 2,000, and up here in Tundra Country, Northwood Kensett got that for their indoor athletic center, much like ours, similar to ours, not quite as big. And I believe Davenport got
Davenport again.
yeah, here we go. Got the large city, so I'm not sure how many cities are in our bracket. I did have that.
There were a lot, yeah.
A lot,
Yeah.
yeah. I noticed the smallest town had 7 people in it. Whoa, a lot of collaboration there. Anyway. Scott, your report?
I was going to have Jacob, if you wouldn't mind, come up, introduce yourself. Appreciate that. He's got a week under his belt, and he's still here, so that's good.
Great. So Mayor, Council, Yep, I've been here a week now. Really glad to be here in the finance role and administrative services. Just been great getting to meet you guys, spending time. Just a little background. I know a lot of you know the basic background, but worked on the Mars before coming here, and had seen the job opening come across, and didn't really know anything about Clear Lake or this area, and just I really fell in love with the area. Just Scott talking about the projects going on, and really meeting the people of the area. We're just really excited as a family to be here, and for my role in these projects and what's going on in the area. I'm married. My wife and I, we've been married for 11 years now. We have 4 wonderful kids. Our oldest is 10, and then 8, 6, and a 1-year-old. And so we're excited. We're going to close on a place just outside of town here coming up the end of the month, and we're excited to get settled in and just enjoy all North Iowa has to offer and be involved in the city here.
Thank you. We're very, very pleased to have you and your family here. Welcome.
I'm just going to add to that. Jacob's wife Amber is a terrific young lady, and when several of us were out to dinner, it was kind of a pretty heavy recruitment process with Jacob. And one evening we were out for dinner, and I had a conversation going on, and Amber was talking to someone, and she said, well, I grew up on some lakes in Wisconsin, and my background is kind of lake coordinator, environmental science, and I was engaged in a conversation. I said, I want to come back to that in just a few minutes. And so I put the hard press on her. I said, we're also looking for a watershed coordinator. And she seemed to know all about that, and that's definitely her livelihood and her background and all of that. So at some point, they've got 4 kids, and she's got a lot on her plate, but I hope to introduce her to Deb Tezar at some point. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, great. Anything else, council? Thank you all for being here and lasting with us. Meeting adjourned.